Hi everyone children. Today we are going to do revision of the chapter structure of matter. Okay. First of all, let us talk about what is matter made of. Okay. What is matter made of, children? We all know that matter is made up of particles. When you break the particles, they break up into tiny particles, and you can say that the smallest piece of the particle is known as atom. Okay, the smallest particle you can say that is known as atoms. So they are very small. Atoms are very small, cannot be seen. Atoms are very small and they cannot be seen even by microscope. Okay, now who discovered this? John Dalton. John Dalton discovered about the atom. Right. Now children, the smallest particle of gold and iron are atom. Now what is the smallest particle of water? Water is made up of hydrogen atoms plus oxygen atom. So this is known as molecule. Right? This is known as molecule. So children, you can say the smallest particle of water is a molecule, whereas the smallest particle of any element is known as atom. Now, when we have studied about this, now let us see about elements and compounds. Let's talk about elements and compounds. Okay, children, we all know that there are 118 elements known to us, right? And there are number of compounds which can be made with the help of these elements. Children, iron, gold, silver, copper, you can say iron, you can say gold, silver, copper, etc. What are these? These are all elements. A substance made up of only one kind of atom that cannot be broken down into simpler substances by chemical method is called an element. So children, what is the definition of element? Element is a substance made up of only one kind of atom. Substance which is made up of only one kind of atom and which cannot be broken further into simpler substances, that is called element. Now, what are compounds? Children, a substance formed by the chemical combination of two or more elements. Substance formed by a chemical composition, a substance formed by a chemical composition, right? Substance formed by a chemical combination. Substance which is formed by a chemical combination of two or more elements in fixed proportion. Children, this is very important, that in fixed proportion, that is known as compound. So what is the definition of compound? A substance which is formed by the chemical combination of two or more elements in fixed proportion, that is called a compound. Now children, the smallest particle of a compound is a molecule, whereas the smallest particle of an element is atom. Clear? Now children, let us talk about the occurrence of elements and compounds. Occurrence of elements and compounds. Children, there are many elements. They have a great tendency to combine with each other to form compounds. These elements are therefore not found in the free state in nature. They only occur in the combined form as compounds. Am I clear? Many elements, they have a great tendency to combine with each other to make a compound. These elements are not found in the free state in nature. They only occur in the combined form as compounds. Children, few elements occur in the free state, like some of these are oxygen, nitrogen and gold. Most of the pure elements are obtained by breaking up of a compound into its constituents. For example, hydrogen and oxygen can be obtained by the electrolysis of water. By the electrolysis of water, hydrogen and oxygen can be separated from water. Okay, that means we can separate hydrogen and oxygen from water. Now children, there are some of the properties of compounds. Now let us see what are the properties of compounds. When we are talking about the properties of compounds, children, first property is that a compound can be broken down into its constituents by chemical methods. Okay, only by chemical methods they can be broken down. Now, second property is, children, a compound contains the same elements combined chemically. It contains same elements in fixed ratio, right? In a compound, the elements will remain same and they will always remain in the fixed ratio, right? Now, next property of a compound is that the property of a compound are different from those of its constituents. Elements, children. Okay, so these are the three properties of compounds. Now, we will be talking about mixtures. Okay, now children, what are mixtures? When two or more elements or compounds are mixed together, two or more elements or compounds are mixed together, right? When two or more elements and compounds are mixed together and there is no chemical change between them. No chemical change between them, then we get a mixture. Am I clear about this? What am I saying? That when two or more elements or compounds are mixed together and there is no chemical change between them, we get a mixture of those two elements or the compounds. Okay, now we will be talking about the differences between mixtures and compound. Between mixtures and compound. Now children, when we are talking about their differences, First difference is mixture can be made by mixing two or more elements or compounds in any ratio. Okay, mixtures are made when they are mixed in any ratio, whereas a compound is made when two or more elements they are mixed together in fixed ratio. Basically, this is the main difference between them. Right. Now, the second point is, children, that in a mixture or a compound, the properties in a compound, the properties of constituents are totally different from the compound. Properties of the constituents of a compound, they are different from the compound itself, whereas in mixtures it is not like that. Here, so these are the differences between mixtures and compound. Now children, we are moving to the next topic, which is symbols. Symbols now we are talking about. Okay, what are symbols? Children, we use symbols to represent elements, right? We use symbols to represent elements, right? And we are using formulas to represent compound. Am I clear about this? Symbols are used to represent elements, whereas formulas are used to represent compound. Now children, the scientists, they have explained that how can we name elements, as there are 118 elements and there are altogether 26 letters in the alphabets. But all the elements are having symbols. Symbol is actually a short form and all of them are having. So how scientists, they have decided, they said that some of the elements are having single letter like oxygen, nitrogen, hydrogen, carbon. They are having single letter. Some of them are having double letters like copper, iron, aluminium, silver. They are having double letter. Now those who are having single letter, the letter is always capital, and those who are having double letter, the first letter is always capital and the second letter will always be small, right? This is about the symbols. Now we move to the formulas. Now children, formula. Now as you all know that molecule of water contains 2 atoms of hydrogen. If I am talking that what are the things present in a molecule of a water, this is a molecule of a water. This formula is telling us that it has got 2 atoms of hydrogen and 1 atom of oxygen, right? Who's telling us this? This formula is telling us that it has got 2 atoms of hydrogen and 1 atom of oxygen. So children, this contains the symbol of hydrogen and oxygen also. We are not writing hydrogen and oxygen completely, we are writing the symbols of hydrogen and oxygen. Like this children, what is the formula of common salt? Common salt is sodium chloride and its formula is NaCl. Okay, now if you want to write the formula of ammonia, ammonia is made by 1 atom of nitrogen. Children, 1 atom of nitrogen combined with 3 atoms of hydrogen makes 1 molecule of ammonia. Okay. So these are all the formulas, like 2 or more elements are combining to form a formula. Now we are moving to the next topic, which is atomicity. Now children, let us talk about atomicity. Now what is atomicity? Children, the atoms of some elements can exist independently. As you know, helium can exist this way, neon can exist this way. So what is the atomicity of helium and neon? They are monoatomic element. Okay, so the other elements like oxygen, hydrogen, nitrogen, what are they known as? They are known as diatomic elements. Clear? Now children, for phosphorus we write P4, for sulfur we write S8. So more than two, if more than two atoms are there with the element, then they are known as polyatomic elements. Okay, they are known as polyatomic elements. So children, what is the atomicity? The number of atoms present in a molecule of an element is known as its atomicity. What is atomicity? The number of atoms present in the element, that is known as its atom. Like helium's atomicity is 1, neon 1, oxygen 2, hydrogen 2, nitrogen 2, phosphorus 4 and sulfur 8. So these, what are these all? These are all the number of atoms. So this is known as atomicity. Now children, formula tells us about the like if you look at the formula, that will tell that what elements are used in that and the number of atoms, name of the elements as well as number of the atoms of those elements. This is the information which is given by the formula. Now we move to the next, that is valency. Now children, what is valency? Valency of an element or a group denotes its combining capacity. It denotes its combining capacity. Okay, it is denoting its combining capacity, or you can say valency of other elements or groups is the number of hydrogen atoms which can combine with or be displaced by one atom of that element or group. Clear? This is about the valency. Now children, when you are writing the formulas, there only we are using the valencies, or you can say valencies are used when we write the formula of any compound. Suppose water. Okay, water is made by hydrogen and oxygen. The valency of hydrogen is 1, the valency of oxygen is 1. Valencies are always cross multiplied, so the formula becomes H2O. Right? Suppose ammonia. Valency of nitrogen is 3. Valency of hydrogen is 1. They are cross multiplied, so the formula of ammonia becomes NH3. Okay, so children, if you know the valencies of the element, then simply we can make formulas with the help of these elements. Right? Now children, one complicated one also I am telling you, aluminium sulfate. This is aluminium. What is sulfate? Sulfate is a group. The valency of aluminium is 3, the valency of sulfate is 2. Cross multiplied. Your formula will be Al2SO4. Because it is a group, so we always write a bracket Al2SO4 whole thrice. Right? This is the formula of aluminium sulfate. Now, after this, the next topic which is present in the chapter, that is chemical equations. It is chemical equation. Children, the element or compound that takes part in a chemical change, they are called reactants. Right? Suppose we are talking about a simple reaction. Hydrogen reacts with oxygen, it forms water. So now the elements which are written on the left hand side of the arrow, they are known as reactants, and the elements which are the compound or the product which is written on the right hand side, that is known as product. So on the right hand side products are written, and on the left hand side reactants are written. Okay, so children, what is a chemical equation? Chemical equation shows the result of a chemical reaction in which the reactants and the products are shown by symbols and formulas. That is known as chemical equation. Okay, now children, while writing a chemical equation, now let us see that what are the things, what information we are getting from the chemical equation. We come to know that what are the elements used. We use symbols of the elements, right? And then the product is also written in the form of formula. Secondly, number of atoms are also shown in the equation. And children, one thing very important, that the number of atoms of the element on the left hand side should be equal to the number of atoms on the right hand side. This is known as balancing. Like look at this equation, 2 hydrogen atom, 2 oxygen atom, here 2 hydrogen atom, 1 oxygen atom. So we need to balance this. When you are balancing, if you write 2 like this to make 2 oxygen atom, now it becomes 2 hydrogen. So if you write 2 hydrogen over here, the equation is balanced. I will be giving you some more examples, like nitrogen reacts with hydrogen, it forms ammonia. Okay, now how will you balance? Children, you have 2 nitrogen, so you will write 2 here. When you have written 2, 3 2s are 6 hydrogen becomes, so you write 3 here. So N2 plus 3H2 becomes 2NH3. Okay, now zinc reacts with hydrochloric acid, it gives ZnCl2 plus H2. This is the reaction. So how will you balance? Zinc 1, chlorine 2, chlorine 1, hydrogen 2, hydrogen. If you write 2 here, the equation is balanced. Am I clear, children? So this is all about the structure of matter. This chapter we have done. Okay. Now we will be coming to the next chapter. Now children, we are starting with the revision of animal fibers. Okay. Now, first of all, we will be seeing that climate and clothes. Climate and clothes. We wear clothes according to the climate. Okay. In the summer season, we wear cotton clothes, which keeps us comfortable. In the winter season, we wear woolen clothes, which keeps our body warm. And in the rainy season, we wear the clothes which dry up quickly, because in the rainy season if you get wet, we need to dry our clothes, and we are using umbrellas, gumboots, etc. Now children, next we move to the natural fibers. Okay, we are moving to natural fibers. When you are talking about the natural fibers, children, we see that they are found in the nature, or nature gives the fiber, they are known as natural fiber. The other type of fibers are known as synthetic fiber. Synthetic fibers are the fibers which are made by us. Okay, like human beings, when they make the fibers, that is known as synthetic fibers. Or you can say chemicals are used to make synthetic fibers. Now, when we are talking about the natural fibers, children, we see that they are of 2 types. First type are known as plant fibers. Plant fibers are the fibers which we get from plants. Example is cotton, jute, hemp, etc. Now, next we are talking about the animal fiber. Animal fibers are the fibers which we get from animals. What are they? We get wool from animal, we get silk from animals. Okay, so in this chapter we are going to study about the animal fibers. So first of all, we start with the whole process. How do we get wool? Okay, children, there are different types or other types of wool also, like alpaca, llama. They belong to the camel family and they give us wool. Cashmere is the other type of wool which we are getting from different type of goats. Okay, Angora we get from Angora rabbit. Mohair we get from Angora goat. And yak wool is also there, which is a type of a wool. So these are, except sheep, these are different animals which are also giving us wool. Now, what is the process which takes place while getting wool? First of all, rearing. Children, what is the meaning of rearing? Okay, sheep, they are mainly reared for their wool. Okay. So you can say that the process of keeping, feeding, breeding and taking medical care of useful animal is known as rearing. So sheep are reared. After rearing, next step comes shearing. Shearing means, children, the wool is removed from the body of the sheep by using clippers or by using razor. That is known as shearing. So their wool is to be cut or is to be removed from their body. This can be done either manually or by using machines. After shearing, next step is scouring. In scouring, what do? We wash that wool which is cut from their body, because it has got dirt, it has got germs, it has got dust, it has got grease. So all that has to be removed. That process is known as scouring. In scouring, they have got soapy water in the tubs and they are washed in that. After scouring, the next step comes sorting. Once it is washed and dried properly, then sorting has to be done. Sorting means different textured wool is kept separately. Okay. After sorting, then we are doing removing burr. What is burr? Burr is the small balls or fluffy fibers which occurs on the wool. They are needed to be removed, and this can be done manually. After removing, children, then we are doing dyeing. Means wool gives us black, white or brown colored. Because sheep are of these three different colors. They are black, they are brown or they are white. But when you go to the market, you can buy different colored sweaters. Okay, how do we get them? We are doing the process dyeing. By dyeing, we can give different color to the wool. After dyeing, making yarns. Okay, after dyeing, then the yarns are made. What is that? The wool is straightened, combed and then spun into yarn. After spinning, by the method of spinning, fibers are converted into yarn, and then these yarns are used either by knitting or by weaving. We get different type of sweaters. We can knit to get sweaters, or we can weave to get woolen clothes. Okay, so children, these are the different steps by which we get wool. Now let us see how do we get silk. Silk, children. Silk, we are getting silk from the silkworms. Silkworms are fed on mulberry leaves. Right? They are fed on the mulberry leaves. Now, children, what happens actually? The adult silk moth, which is female, lays eggs. Okay, it is laying eggs. Now eggs are hatched. Eggs stays for a few days. After hatching, that period is known as incubation. Eggs are hatched and the larva, or which is also known as caterpillar, comes out from it. Once the larva comes out from it, then do you know what happens, children? These larvae, they are eating mulberry leaves. They keep on eating mulberry leaves and they keep on growing. When larva grows, then it starts spinning cocoon. Okay, it starts spinning cocoon around themselves. Now this cocoon keeps on growing and changes into pupa. When this pupa grows inside the cocoon completely, then it changes into adult moth again. Now children, these cocoons, they are these larvae which are present inside the cocoon. They keep on secreting a substance which comes out from their body and they start wrapping that around their body. That is actually a silk thread. How do we get silk thread? People are putting these cocoons in boiling water. Right. Why do we need to put them in boiling water? So that the thread can be separated safely. Otherwise, if without putting them in water we try to separate the thread, it may break into pieces, and we want the whole long thread which can be used for making different silk saris or silk cloth. So they are needed to be put in the boiling water, right? And then they remove those threads. Children, the silk fiber is obtained from the cocoon by the method which is known as reeling or filature. This is the method by which the silk threads are obtained from the cocoon. Now, the silk thread which we are getting after the heating, when we get those filaments we are getting from 4 to 8 cocoons, they are joined and twisted together. This is then combed with a number of other similarly twisted filaments to make a thread. This thread is known as raw silk. Okay, now this raw silk is supplied to the places where it is woven into silk cloth by the weavers. This is how we get silk. Now children, health hazards. The workers, those who are working with the wool industry or with the silk industry, they are having health hazards. Now children, first is the disease by which they are suffering, that is Salter's disease. Salter disease is a disease which occurs by the bacteria which is known as anthrax. Okay, anthrax is the bacteria which is responsible for this Salter's disease. It is actually, what type of disease is this? This is actually a blood disease. So people, those who are working with these industries or those who are working with the wool industry, they are basically suffering from this Salter's disease. Now children, second is the respiratory disease. People, those who are working with the industry, they are inhaling the vapors which are coming out from the cocoons when they are boiled. So they are inhaling those vapors which are affecting their lungs and they are suffering from respiratory disease. Third is children, the scabies, which is also known as skin disease. They are suffering from the skin disease because they have to put their hand in boiling water for long time. They are putting their hands in the boiling water for long time, so they suffer from skin diseases. Those workers, when they are working over there, their skin becomes raw and blistered, resulting in the peeling of the skin. Okay, the skin starts peeling out from their hands. So these are the 3 diseases by which the workers are suffering. Clear? That's all children. Thank you so much.